Today, we delve into the life of Ethan, a junior architect in his mid-20s who has taken the early steps toward his dream career. Ambitious and meticulously organized, Ethan prides himself on his ability to stay steady in the tumultuous world of architecture. He is that reliable friend, the one who people turn to when chaos unfolds, assuming that steadfastness is the hallmark of emotional maturity. But beneath this composed exterior lies a quiet arrogance, a belief that he possesses an emotional intelligence far superior to those around him. Ethan understands the importance of his work, and he has devoted himself entirely to his role at a burgeoning architectural firm. The demands of his profession are steep. Long hours are the norm, and occasional travel for site visits has become a part of his life. His days are an endless loop of meetings and meticulous design reviews, each moment consumed with thoughts of climbing the corporate ladder. In this competitive environment, Ethan has developed an unyielding focus, believing that hard work will inevitably lead him to a secure and prosperous future. As he forges ahead in his career, a subtle shift begins to permeate his life. The stress of deadlines and relentless expectations eventually leads Ethan to adopt a different form of escape: alcohol and occasional recreational drugs. While he maintains a veneer of control, his reliance on substances quietly escalates. It starts innocuously enough: a glass of wine to wash away the tension of a long day, a stimulating pill on particularly rough mornings. In the back of his mind, Ethan rationalizes this behavior, convinced that such escapes are harmless indulgences that enhance his productivity rather than derail it. As weeks turn into months, his coping mechanisms begin to take root, entwining themselves into his daily routine. Slowly, he becomes oblivious to the emerging pattern of his choices. Life at work remains steady. Ethan even finds himself gaining recognition in the firm for his innovative designs, a feat that fuels his ambition further. However, the echo of a deeper pain and restlessness lingers in the recesses of his mind, often masked by work and fleeting moments of intoxication. Climbing the corporate ladder presents itself as an intoxicating allure, blurring the lines between his accomplishments and the lifestyle choices he pursues after hours. Ethan sees himself as someone who understands the world around him, always willing to lend an ear to friends and colleagues. He views himself as a dependable partner, never straying from the principles he holds dear. Yet he is blind to the imminent storm brewing on the horizon, a storm that rests not only in his professional world, but also in his personal life. His perception of loyalty and resilience hangs in the balance, as he often overlooks the cracks that begin to form in his relationships due to the gradual emergence of his obsessive work ethic and the vices he clings to for solace. What Ethan fails to see is that the very ambition that propels him forward is also laying the groundwork for an impending reckoning. In the fleeting moments between the chaos of presentations and deadlines, Ethan's world remains an ordered mosaic of blueprints, sketches, and ambition. Yet there is an unspoken promise of change lingering in the shadows, a promise intertwined with a chance encounter that will shift the dynamics of his world forever. Little does he know, the intricacies of his life are about to take a turn he could not have anticipated. It is within this context of ambition and a fragile sense of stability that Ethan's story unfolds, one that will not only test his emotional maturity, but also reveal the complexities of love, betrayal, and ultimately self-discovery. As we turn the page to the next chapter, the themes of temptation and consequence are destined to echo louder with each decision made, each relationship impacted, as the life he meticulously curated begins to unravel before his very eyes. Today, we delve into a deeply transformative segment of Ethan's life, one that introduces an unexpected and riveting character, Clara. As Ethan continues to navigate the complexities of his career in architecture, he encounters a moment that reshapes not only his personal landscape, but also challenges the very foundations of his beliefs about relationships. At a mutual friend's gallery, opening one chilly autumn evening, Ethan finds himself captivated by the vibrant energy of the crowd. The rich colors and intricate designs of the artworks seem to dance around him, creating an atmosphere filled with creativity and possibility. It is in this euphoric setting that he first lays eyes on Clara. She stands beside a striking painting, her auburn hair cascading like a waterfall across her shoulders, as she animatedly discusses the nuances of color theory with a fellow attendee. There is an unmistakable spark, an immediate magnetic pull that draws Ethan toward her. As they engage in conversation, Ethan feels an unfamiliar sense of warmth and excitement. Clara is a graphic designer, and her passion for her work resonates with Ethan on a profound level. They exchange ideas and perspectives that ignite a whole new sense of creativity within him. Her laughter is contagious, and her intelligence shines through every sentence. For Ethan, who has always prided himself on his emotional maturity, Clara's spirited nature feels like a refreshing breeze through the confines of his meticulously structured life. Their initial connection blossoms into something deeper over the following weeks. What begins as casual coffee dates evolves into long discussions, exploring everything from art to architecture, life goals, and the very essence of love. Ethan finds himself entranced, the once rigid walls of his existence softening in the light of Clara's vivacity. He admires her spontaneity and lack of fear in expressing herself, attributes he secretly wishes to possess. Yet as their relationship deepens, so too does an unspoken tension. Clara remains entangled in a relationship with her long-term boyfriend, Marcus. While Ethan rationalizes this as a mere speed bump on the road to love's fulfillment, Clara's emotional attachment appears to linger like a few errant leaves left clinging to a tree in autumn. Ethan, with his steadfast belief in loyalty, gradually dismisses the signs. This oversight becomes both his naivety and his downfall. After several months of this intense connection, Clara surprises Ethan one evening with the news that she has left Marcus. For her, this decision seems incredibly liberating. It appears as though she has rediscovered her sense of self. Ethan can hardly contain his joy. He perceives Clara's choice as validation of their undeniable connection. He believes they share an extraordinary once-in-a-lifetime bond, one that is destined to lead to an inspired future together. With Clara moving into his stylish loft apartment, the couple quickly intertwines their lives in a whirlwind of love and creativity. The once orderly spaces adorned with blueprints and sketches begin to transform with Clara's unique design projects and personal touches. Their home flourishes with life and color, representing neither just Ethan's ambition nor Clara's artistic flair. It heralds a shared life filled with hope. The walls echo with laughter, while each room encapsulates a dream they have begun to build together. However, as the weeks flow into months, Ethan's blind admiration and unyielding trust blind him to subtle signs, small, nagging doubts that manifest like whispers at the back of his mind. Clara's late-night design sessions and cryptic phone calls become moments he brushes aside. After all, he prides himself on being the dependable partner, someone who encompasses emotional maturity and understanding. He convinces himself that love conquers all, even the cracks forming beneath the surface of their seemingly blissful union. Yet the darkness lurking in the corners of their relationship looms larger than he realizes, setting the stage for an unexpected reckoning. What Ethan perceives as the start of a lifelong journey is a fragile web woven with both romance and deceit. He is about to discover that the very foundations of love he had come to define are far more complex than he ever anticipated. As their relationship evolves and secrets begin to surface, a foreshadowing of betrayal lurks, hinting at the tumultuous path that resides just beneath the surface. This chapter unfolds not merely as a love story, but as a cautionary tale of misplaced trust and hidden truths, ultimately leading Ethan toward an emotional turmoil he never envisioned. As we turn the page, the vibrant hues of affection contrast starkly against the looming shadows of betrayal. Unbeknownst to Ethan, a whirlwind of chaos is set to unravel, leaving him to grapple with the fragility of trust and the agonizing depths of heartbreak. In the next part of this saga, we will witness the moment tragedy strikes and relationships are put to the test, transforming everything Ethan once believed into echoes of a scar yet to be healed. As the sun began to set on the horizon during a sumptuous evening getaway for their anniversary, Ethan found himself wrapped in the warmth of love and anticipation. The scenic retreat was adorned with flavors of their deepening connection, candlelight dancing upon the tables, laughter echoing off the walls, and the promise of a shared future invigorating the air. Ethan believed wholeheartedly that this celebration would mark the cornerstone of a lifetime together. However, in a single moment, the foundation of this dream would be irrevocably shattered. While sitting together on the plush couch, with the ambiance tinged in whispers of affection and intimacy, Ethan's mind turned to practicality for a brief moment. He remembered Clara had been using an app to monitor her health. In a gesture that combined care and forethought, he suggested he record their special anniversary date within the app's dashboard. This simple action, however, would trigger an avalanche of revelations that altered the course of their lives forever. When Ethan opened the app to input the date, he was met with a digital ledger that would unveil more than just an annal of health metrics. Scanning through the entries for intimacy, he was initially oblivious to the patterns recorded that preceded their anniversary date. Yet the flickering light of bliss soon dimmed upon the stark realization of numerous entries marked during times when he had been away, dealing with the demands of his job. The truth resonated in the hollow pit of his stomach, had he been blissfully unaware while she had been with others. The names began to materialize, each bearing the heavy weight of betrayal. He saw Marcus, her ex-boyfriend, whose shadow had always lingered on the outskirts of their relationship. The presence of Liam, a senior associate at Ethan's architectural firm, whom he had respected and admired, created a conflict that thundered painfully through his conscience. The final name, Ben, flashed across the screen, his close friend within their hiking group, and pulled the rug out from beneath him. As the sickening wave of disbelief sought to consume him, Ethan's thoughts spiraled toward an abyss of humiliation. The certainty that he had opened the door to a love marked with cracks of infidelity churned his stomach. Rushing past logic and decorum, he mustered the nerve to penetrate deeper into the app's folders, yearning for clarity amidst the intermingled shadows of denial. In doing so, he accessed a hidden archive, a treasure trove of memories meticulously recorded, chronicling a shocking pattern of intimate communications Clara had sustained with these individuals. Disappointment morphed into fury, his emotions trailing like a wildfire hard to contain. The agony of betrayal coalesced with a smothering bitterness as he waged a silent war against the image of the woman he had loved and trusted completely. All at once he was engulfed by newfound rage, both at Clara and at himself. How could he have been so foolish? Why had he failed to sense the perturbing undercurrents weaving through their relationship? In the state of mind that Ethan found himself in, clarity was eclipsed by an urgent need for retribution, the desire to claw back the power that felt so desperately stolen from him. The realization of the betrayal laid bare an undeniable truth. Love, security, and devotion had been weaponized against not just his heart, but his very sense of identity. How could Clara, someone whose beauty and vibrancy had initially lit a fire within him, be entangled in such a web of discord? His meticulous nature, so often a source of strength, began to curtail under the weight of taboo and chaos. Life would never be the same again. In the short span of those revelations, a single moment transformed into a cascade of emotions, reshaping Ethan from a confident, ambitious architect into a man trembling on the brink of despair. As frail whispers of hope dwindled, vengeance began to write its narrative. An ink of righteous indignation flowed through his veins. Ethan's heart hardened, turning the warmth of love into chilling resolve, setting the wheels in motion for the unfurling storm to come. What once bloomed beautifully would now be defined by vengeance, distrust, and the echoes of a scar that would refuse to heal. As the shadows grew deeper and impending actions formed in his mind, Ethan knew he was stepping into a dark chapter that would not just ensnare Clara, but entangle them both in the relentless grasp of betrayal, a ruthless journey where the lines between love and revenge would thicken like fog rolling across the landscape of their shared dreams. As reality set in, and the echo of betrayal reverberated through Ethan's life, he felt as though the world around him had transformed into a dense fog, obscuring the future he had envisioned. The moment he uncovered Clara's infidelities, a vicious cycle was set in motion, one that would lead him to the depths of despair. Betrayal is an insidious thing, it claws at the heart, but what truly twisted the knife was the deep shame that came in its wake. The dependable architect, once perceived as a beacon of integrity, now stared into the abyss of his broken heart, searching for anything to quell the agony. In the aftermath of his gut-wrenching discovery, Ethan found himself in a fragile state, tethered between devastation and a violent hunger for vengeance. The clean lines of his architectural ambitions were now littered with chaos and confusion. The relentless hours at work that once felt purposeful gave way to an emotional void, and his late nights filled with whiskey and pills became a desperate attempt to escape the reality he could not bear. His friend David, who had only recently returned from a year-long trek across Europe, became Ethan's reluctant accomplice in this dark chapter. A haven of sorts amidst Ethan's emotional turmoil, David offered consolation, albeit unwittingly provoking a sense of camaraderie that soon devolved into something far more damaging. Their shared moments were colored by reckless revelry and distorted laughter, where the pain of betrayal would meet escapism by way of alcohol and stimulants. The oblivion these substances provided was intoxicating and, ironically, only deepened the hollowness within. Ethan began to lose sight of who he once was. The principles he had held dear for so long, including loyalty, love, and self-respect, withered under the weight of betrayal and despair. Each swig of whiskey was both an anesthetic and an accelerant, distracting him from his emotional pain, while more deeply entrenching him in self-destructive habits. He would often catch glimpses of himself in the glass mirror of his loft, now a pale shadow of the man he used to be, unshaven, slumped shoulders, eyes devoid of the youthful ambition that had once fueled him. Chasing the high of his initial escape, he escalated his alcohol consumption and drug use. It evolved from an occasional cocktail after work into a nightly ritual of numbness that dulled the chaotic feelings swirling in his soul. He tethered himself to substances like a lifeline, treating them as a means to manage his spiraling emotions. He even found himself swallowing more than just recreational drugs, drowning his grief. Anger and humiliation came at a hefty price. Each dive deeper into addiction compounded his suffering, but offered a semblance of control in a world that had so quickly spiraled into chaos. In the quiet moments, the early mornings or late nights when he was left alone with his thoughts, the gnawing need for revenge began to emerge. It yanked at him like a cruel puppet master, compelling him to engage in reckless actions that burned bridges rather than build them. He saw Clara not as a partner left behind, but as a challenge to conquer, a wrong to be righted with calculated cruelty. It was almost as if the pain delineated a path forward, one where he could wield some semblance of power through wrathful decisions. The penance for his heartache transformed into a bitter resolve. Each plot for revenge felt like a thrilling puzzle, a labyrinth where each twist and turn would lead to another confrontation, and ultimately to his twisted notion of justice. The bitter reality was that the pain of betrayal had turned into a weapon of his choosing, and he would wield it mercilessly, convinced that in this dark game of chess, taking down Clara and those associated with her would somehow quell the tempest inside. But with each desperate act that surfaced from his misguided vendetta, Ethan was unknowingly sketching out the architectural blueprints of his own demise. Revenge may provide a high, but it does not create foundations for a sustainable life. Instead, it erodes one's sense of self-worth and integrity. Gradually, he began to feel the consequences of this chaotic spiral. His anger and tears became intertwined, culminating in an unrelenting emptiness that rendered him unrecognizable, not only to those around him but to himself. This downward spiral into vengeance did not come without cost, a cost that echoed through his very identity. The architect was losing his ability to build anything meaningful as he replaced creativity with destructive impulses. It was becoming increasingly evident that while his heart sought to dismantle Clara's world, it was Ethan who truly risked losing everything. The fog thickened around him as he slid deeper into addiction and malice, suspended perilously between numbness and the urge for retribution. As fallacies of love nurtured the ashes of betrayal, Ethan stood at the precipice of a moral abyss, teetering between the remnants of his former self and a darker, vindictive alter ego he had never known. After the discovery of Clara's unfaithfulness and the painful collapse of their relationship, Ethan's grief morphed into something sinister, a twisted mechanism of retribution that he chose to wield unflinchingly. His heart, though stained with betrayal, became a reservoir for revenge. With each thought of Clara's laughter, now tainted by infidelity, he envisioned striking not just at her, but at the foundation of friendships and trust she had so carefully cultivated in her life. Fueled by a fiery blend of despair and desire for control, he resolved to dismantle the world surrounding her, a world that had once welcomed him into its embrace. Ethan's ruse began slowly, almost insidiously, as he donned the cloak of a steadfast friend while secretly sowing seeds of chaos. Ethan knew the intricacies of Clara's social circle like the back of his hand. Taking special note of her closest friends, he internalized their vulnerabilities and cherished connections, planning his calculated strikes with meticulous precision. He reached out, posing as a shoulder to lean on while stealthily gathering intelligence, all the while biding his time. The first target became her confidant, Beth, a bright-eyed, lively woman with a penchant for nurturing those around her. Ethan employed a blend of charm and earnestness to gently nudge Beth into sharing unguarded stories about her life and relationships. Once her defenses were lowered and trust was established, Ethan slyly dropped hints about Clara's past, suggesting inconsistencies, casting doubt on Clara's integrity while presenting them as tales shared amongst friends. Beth's disbelief transformed into questions, and soon seeds of suspicion began to take root in her mind. Then, Ethan crafted a carefully placed anonymous message that subtly suggested infidelity, a mere whisper that would embed itself deeply into Beth's psyche. He could feel the effect almost immediately. An argument erupted on social media between Beth and her fiancé, public and tumultuous. As Ethan watched the chaos unfold, a twisted satisfaction surged within him. This was mere collateral damage, a necessary step in his quest to dominate Clara's world. However, he did not stop at Helen. No, he amassed a collection of acquaintances, friends from hiking clubs, colleagues at Clara's graphic design firm, and even members of her family. With each social interaction, he artfully planted seeds of doubt in conversations, often cloaked in conversations that felt natural and innocent, whispering half-truths that slowly morphed into harmful speculations. "Have you noticed Clara has been different lately?" He would casually drop into friendly banter, watching as panic spread through her network like wildfire. As the situation escalated, photos began surfacing on social media, pictures of Ethan appearing intimately close with some of Clara's friends, all shared with perfect timing to amplify suspicion. Each photo evoked whispers of scandal, as if they had been meticulously crafted for public spectacle. Little by little, Clara's once solid support system dissolved, fracturing friendship bonds and turning laughter among companions into distrust. Ethan delighted in the chaos he orchestrated. Each breakup sparked gossip, feeding the relentless machine of his carefully designed revenge. He reveled in Clara's reaction to the changing tides of her own relationships, her friends withdrawing like petals drooping in the presence of winter's chill. And as the consequences of his diabolical scheme unfolded, Ethan could feel his once sweet anguish transform into bitter triumph. But amidst this facade of strength and control, an unsettling sensation brewed in the recesses of his mind. Beneath the layers of vindictiveness and shadowed malevolence, he grappled with a growing awareness. Despite the satisfaction of dismantling Clara's world, he could not escape a looming void. Revenge may have painted him a master architect of social destruction, but it was also crafting the blueprint for his own moral corrosion, often drawing moments of clarity when he felt utterly lost. Layers of guilt would creep steadily in when he found himself alone, wrestling with the truth that while he was orchestrating Clara's downfall, he was simultaneously self-imploding. The path he had chosen began to bear a heavy toll, whispering to him in fleeting moments of introspection, as pieces of his psyche quaked beneath the weight of unchecked consequences. The line between vengeance and sanity continued to blur, and as he embarked on the next phase of retribution, Ethan was forced to reconcile the distortions of his motives, a daunting journey that would determine the architect of his own fate. Thank you for watching this emotional journey through Ethan's story. If you found this narrative compelling, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more gripping tales. Your support means the world and allows us to explore the intricate stories that shape our lives. If you have thoughts or reflections on the themes explored in this video, I encourage you to leave a comment below. I would love to hear your insights. Until next time, remember that every echo of a scar has the potential to lead us toward healing or deeper darkness. Choose wisely. Peace.